everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Veteran Uncensored with Chris Rodriguez, 8 p.m. Central Time, United States of America. Welcome to the channel where we bring you unbiased opinion on the latest and trending stories in the world. Well, in America, basically, actually. Maybe there will get times I can have an opinion on what's going on in Gaza and Israel, and of course, Ukraine, Russia. But we got a lot of problems here in America to worry about. First, to give our opinion, to talk about. And then, by the way, let me ask you, if you ever want to be a part of a podcast, want to come and participate, please let us know, and we can definitely make it possible. So you can come on and debate, have your opinion said. Doesn't have to be, a debate really. Just a conversation amongst people. Listen, I'm open to have panels. So if you want to join us, let us know, and we can have some of that going, of course, on this channel. But anyways, hit the like button, subscribe, follow if you're on Rumble. Please support the channel. It's very important to do that. Hit the like button. We are just getting started. We are starting this new journey. I've been podcasting for a long time, focused on sports, and now making things happen on the political side of things. Of course, I am a Christian as well, so very much so doing something on as far as the religious side of things that I'm working on as well. So we're pretty busy right now. Me and my wife, we're pretty busy podcasting and doing things. So, but anyways, if you support this channel, please smash the like button, subscribe again, follow if you want. I'm a U.S. veteran. I'm a Hispanic man. That doesn't matter really to the conversation, or maybe it does right now in this particular moment that we're living in. Because, ladies and gentlemen, let me get you to guess. There's more and more riots, and things are calming down, though. By the way, and it's not the way certain people are making it believe as if it was 1992 L.A. riots, and this is nowhere near that, right? I mean, let's be fair. So, but still, there were riots, and the military was deployed to go there and bring peace to the surrounding areas, to the certain areas that these riots were getting crazy. Now, it got heavy now for a long time. They were throwing rocks, which, by the way, to me is attempted murder against whoever they were throwing rocks, policemen, ICE, all federal law enforcement and all that. Regardless, they were throwing rocks, and to me, that's attempted murder. Listen, there's nothing peaceful and nothing about throwing rocks at moving vehicles that will make me think, okay, you got a point. No, nothing. And as I said on the previous show, all this does is just make things worse for actual good, sober, moral, and prudent immigrants that come here. Maybe they make that mistake willingly of crossing the border illegally, but came here for a better life, came here to work. They do work, pay their taxes, don't commit crimes. They are, again, sober, moral, and prudent people, and they're helping out the communities, and they still got a process going. Maybe some of them, they got a court date so they can still work here legally. Those people are being jeopardized by these people that go around and riot and loot. And by the way, it's not just Hispanic people. I saw a lot of black people, white people looting and stealing, robbing the Apple stores. What is that all about? It makes no sense. But what it is not making sense, it seems like as if the LA riots at the time, which again have calmed down a bit, has been influenced in other states because this has been going nationwide. U.S. immigration protests spread nationwide as National Guard is sent to other cities as well. Mass arrests made in Los Angeles as protesters gather in Seattle, Chicago, Atlanta, and New York City, as well as Dallas, by the way, I read somewhere. And I think some of these, I got my notes here, and I'm probably going to find it soon. Protests against Donald Trump's immigration crackdown have spread across the United States of America, with demonstrations erupting in at least a dozen cities overnight. The National Guard has been deployed again to Texas, in protests held in Seattle, in Chicago, in Atlanta, in New York, as opposition to the administration's aggressive roundups intensified. Now, Greg Abbott, who is the governor of Texas, said the state would deploy its National Guard to maintain order. after police used chemical irritants to disperse several hundred demonstrators in Austin, Texas. Now, listen, I don't want to make this either, a thing where we are blaming only and solely putting the blame on Hispanic people. Again, I just told you, black people, white people were rooting and looting, stealing and robbing multiple stores. All right. And I've seen it with these very eyes. And again, a lot of those also Hispanic Americans that are just, I don't know. I guess, I mean, listen, bad people coming out in different colors, shapes, and sizes, shall we say. And these people are, again, they don't represent real good immigrants. But with that being said, I just want to clarify that it was multiple ethnicities and races looting and stealing, not just Hispanic. Now, when you go to Texas, a lot of Hispanics down there, especially in Austin, Dallas, Houston, wherever you want to put it. There's a lot of big Hispanic community there, of course, in Los Angeles. So this thing has been a bit crazy, but now things seem to be simmering down. One good thing that the mayor of Los Angeles, Bass, did was put the curfew in. I think that will work. And they've made a lot of arrests based on the curfew. People not following curfew. I think that's good. I think they also started working a little bit too late. They started worrying about this thing a little bit too late. And that is the problem here. Now, as I said before, American people knew this was going to happen when they made their vote. People voted for this. And you cannot blame a president for doing what he promised to do to the American folks. I think Trump and ICE, should focus on criminals and people with criminal records and leave the people who have stayed out of trouble, paid their taxes, have a job, and have a legitimate reason to seek asylum. And, of course, they're still going on their ongoing process and have a final court date, at some point. I know a lot of people got their court date next year in 2029. If they are following these essential rules of being an American citizen, which is following the law, working, paying their taxes, listen, and they still got a legitimate reason to seek asylum, and they are in the process. There's nothing wrong with them. Leave those people alone. Leave those people alone. And by the way, right now, I have not found any information on ICE deporting or trying to report or arresting people in this category that falls into the category of, again, being sober, moral, and prudent people, not committing crimes, have a legitimate reason to seek asylum, have a court date, and have a job and pay their taxes. I think we need to leave those people alone. All right, and because it also will add, it will be in Trump's favor if he has a little bit of, how can we put it? Not being soft, but being humane and not just being so direct and so stern with it. I agree with you that all the criminals, from domestic violence to drug lords to kidnappers to rapists to murderers, those need to be gone, and that's really no debate there. But from the littlest crime, I'm talking about. But those people that their crime has been crossed the border illegally, and then they committed to being a sober, moral, and prudent person after that, let them have a chance. It will add a humane side to things, to Trump's administration, and it will appease other people. Take a look at it as well. There are certain people that have been here for 20 years, never committed crimes, pay their taxes, worked. Why not be a little bit flexible? Why not be a little bit flexible? However, I will also admit that there is something out there that was on Piers Morgan's show today where they said something along the lines of maybe you can incentivize people to leave the country by paying them. It costs 27,000, I read, 27,000, not 17, 27,000 to deport somebody forcefully. 27,000 per person. And imagine if you offer some of these people that really don't have any ties to being in the country $10,000. You go back to your country. And people will say, wait a minute. I'm a taxpayer. I didn't pay for that. but you're already going to pay over $20,000 per person forcefully, regardless. So why not incentivize some of these people to leave voluntarily, give them $10K, go out there and live your life? I read somewhere where there was an idea of, I think it was a Democrat trying to be governor of California on Piers Morgan, saying that why not, incentivize them, give them a year to acclimatize, to get ready to leave, and then add a little bit of a bonus into that and see how it goes. A lot of people will try to leave voluntarily, which is a lot cheaper than forcefully removing people. And I know that, again, we go back to the same thing. People will say, well, why should we pay for that? Listen, we're going to have to pay for it regardless. So which one do you want? Right? And you avoid a lot of these things. Avoid a lot of this deploying military, which is going to cost us about $135 million for this deployment to California alone, let alone the other cities that are being the military is being deployed to. And of course, Marines have also been deployed to California, which and listen, into the politicians that want to blame the military man. I've seen Maxine Waters point and talk to National Guard members as if they have a choice. And also ICE, by the way, they don't have a choice. ICE police officers are going out there doing their job because they have to. They're following orders. So Maxine Waters and company attack the people that are responsible for ordering these actions on federal officers and military, which, by the way, I don't see a problem with, because again, the American people voted for this. The majority did. And now CNN is saying that Trump is hyping a case to use American troops on domestic soil, according to CNN. President Trump is posing as a wartime leader, building a political case to use American troops, not in a foreign conflict, but at home. But let's just think about that, right? Because we like, certain media outlets like to sensationalize things, and people buy into it and don't really think for themselves. The National Guard is meant. It's actually the first ever military branch in the United States of America. The National Guard was the first ever. Then active duty army and all that, but the first ever was National Guard. What was it meant to do? It's not meant. The National Guard is not meant. That's why it's called National Guard. It's to be here in the United States of America, to work inside the United States of America. It's not meant to go overseas to Iraq or Afghanistan, although obviously there's been deployments. There's been, reasons as to why the National Guard has been deployed to other places for field training, etc. But it's not. It is meant to protect within the United States of America. So that right there by CNN makes no sense, So let's get that in our heads first and foremost. Let's understand what actually what certain military branches are meant to do, right? So, according to CNN, Trump is hyping a case to use American troops in domestic soil. I don't know. California Governor Gavin Newsom and the Democrat who heads the state of leading resistance to the president with a taste of unchecked power, according to him. And CNN says a long-feared moment of peril is at the hand for U.S. democracy. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it, and let's watch and listen to Mr. Gavin Newsom as he came out in full force. By the way, no joke, he came out in full force against Mr. and President Donald Trump. Let's take a listen.
Happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar scene played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested. A 4-year-old girl taken, families separated, friends quite literally disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose. As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety for family and friends ramped up. Protests started again. By night, several dozen lawbreakers became violent and destructive. They vandalized property. They tried to assault police officers. Many of you have seen the video clips of cars burning on cable news. If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account. That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated, full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 700 active U.S. Marines. These are the men and women trained for foreign combat, not domestic law enforcement. We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces, not in LA, not in California, not anywhere. We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots, kids afraid of attending their own graduation. Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. California will keep fighting. We'll keep fighting on behalf of our people, all of our people, including in the courts. Just yesterday, we filed a legal challenge to Donald Trump's reckless deployment of American troops to a major American city. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the American military to engage in law enforcement activities across Los Angeles. If some of us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th? Ask everyone. Take time, reflect on this perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or constitution, perpetuating a unified assault on American traditions. This is a president who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable for corruption and fraud. He's declared a war on culture, on history, on science, on knowledge itself. Databases, quite literally, are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment. and the threat of defunding them. At threat, he's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society. He's calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen. At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
Wow. Very much interesting right there, what we're seeing
But this, again,
over there.
was
That was Gavin Newsom, as he was going and strong coming at Donald Trump. And I'll tell you this, I don't disagree with what he said. What I disagree with is that is actually what's happening, right? Because, I mean, if you listen to Gavin Newsom, it could give you goosebumps because the way he's speaking very much eloquently, and that's why many thought that he could be the salvation of the Democratic Party. And maybe that's what he's trying to do in the future. If you didn't know what he was talking about, or if you just turned the TV open and you lived in Greece, and you would hear him, you would say, "Wow, this is one hell of a potential president candidate, or one hell of a governor." The fact of the matter is that he's made a lot of mistakes, and he has failed his city as well. I will agree that this does bring anxiety, nervousness, and it unsettles, in this case, the Hispanic community, but all immigrants, to be honest. And that's not good. That's why earlier on, I brought these suggestions that could work for to do this, to go about it in a peaceful and a more humane way. Once you have gotten rid of every criminal that needs to be getting rid of. And look, Gavin Newsom is what he says sounds good, but for example, I know they're Republican, but we got here: ICE prepares to deploy tactical agents to Democratic cities nationwide. Texas Governor Craig Abbott said Tuesday night that he will deploy the National Guard in the state as rallies continue nationwide. The thing is, this thing becomes a Democrat versus Republican once other Republican states do deploy their National Guard, and California complains that their National Guard is there. And so it becomes, okay, so one city needs it, the other one doesn't. What does it become? It becomes a Democrat versus Republican thing, and that in itself is a nonsensical argument, because I just cannot stand parties and people that just vote for their party and think their party does everything perfect because it makes no sense. It makes citizens look like they're robots being manhandled by just a color or a political party in itself. So um, I don't know. I mean, listen, he can make sense on certain things, but at the end of the day, there's a fundamental issue when it comes to just how he's handled the situation, even lying. And Trump pulled out the receipts. He said there was no phone call, but there certainly was. Trump pulled out the receipts, and just there, he's lying. Now, we don't know the contents of the conversation, but at the end of the day, we know that Newsom ended up lying just by stating the fact that he didn't have a conversation or a phone call with President Trump and before the riots started happening. So or during the riots. Anyways, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. What I do know is that that Democrats are trying to frame Trump, according to Waters. Fox News' Jesse Waters gives his take on the anti-ICE rioters clashing with police in Los Angeles on Jesse Waters Prime Times on Fox News. Sorry. Let's take a look at what he has had to say about this whole situation.
We ain't afraid of you.
Chaos in Los Angeles. Stores looted, cars burnt to a crisp, and American flags torched. Anarchists and dirt bikes are waving Mexican flags around LA while the city's engulfed in flames. And they love this country so much that they're waving the flag. So why do they hate the idea of being sent back? This doesn't look like assimilation. This looks like what it is, an invasion. This all started Friday afternoon. ICE agents were assisting a federal drug and money laundering raid in downtown LA, when all of a sudden, dozens of protesters showed up and clashed with officers on the scene. The mayor of Los Angeles didn't stop it. She told LAPD to stand down for hours and hung federal agents out to dry. Karen Bass told Trump, "Keep your hands off my Biden migrants."
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
While rioters were raising hell, Democrats chose sides.
ICE get out of LA so that order can be restored.
If they're escalating their tactics, then so are we. When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
By Saturday morning, cop cars were getting pelted with rocks, and officers had to start deploying tear gas. The media told us, don't worry, the protests are mostly peaceful.
Most of the crowds, again, that I saw, that I spoke to, that I was interacting with, these are peaceful people that want to get their message across.
Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful.
The reality is we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles.
What did happen in 1992 was so different from what we're seeing now. I mean, that was a real riot.
What about the cars on fire? ABC says it's just people having fun.
There's a large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
No, police weren't having fun. The chief of LA County says he was outmanned.
We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people.
By 6 o'clock on Saturday, the city was on fire, and Trump had to call in 2,000 National Guard for backup. Now it's up to 4,000. Trump didn't wait for permission from the governor like the last summer of love. Now there's a new policy. When they spit, we hit.
If we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order. When they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, Nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
Protesters liked spitting, but they didn't like getting hit.
You told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
The media rushed to blame Trump.
It didn't really reach this point of the scale and the intensity of this protest and the scale and the intensity of the confrontation between protesters and law enforcement until National Guard troops were deployed here today. That very much poured gasoline on the flames, and that very much led to the LAPD, acting as in as widespread and aggressive a manner as we saw them acting today.
Now, the press said everything was mostly peaceful until the National Guard showed up. But the New York Times is reporting the National Guard hasn't even engaged with the protesters at all. National Guard troops appeared to largely refrain from engaging with demonstrators. So that debunks the hoax that Trump incited the riots. Karen Bass, who told cops to stand down, said the streets weren't really dangerous until Trump mobilized the Guard.
What we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked by the administration. When you run armored caravans through our streets, you cause fear and you cause panic. And deploying federalized troops is a dangerous escalation.
Even Kamala weighed in, saying deploying National Guard is a dangerous escalation meant to provoke chaos. Yeah, the guy who ran on Law and Order wants to provoke chaos. Makes no sense. Democrats are trying to frame Trump as a heavy-handed dictator, even though the city was on fire before he sent the Guard in. Newsom, who could have called up the Guard himself, is suing Trump for protecting his state.
Fox News is calling it the LA riots. Is it a peaceful protest? What's happening? What are you seeing?
Well, I mean, look, Donald Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions. He's, lit the proverbial match. He's putting fuel on this fire ever since he announced he was taking over the National Guard. An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow.
Hold on, let me just pause that for a second, and we're going to keep reacting to it because I just don't understand. I mean, I do understand but I don't actually why the fear of the National Guard. I mean, the National Guard, we're treating them as if they are monsters that we got locked up, that all of a sudden if we take them out of their cage, they're going to attack people and destroy people, right? And kill everybody, and just it makes no sense. That you put soldiers out there, they're just like police and law enforcement. They're not going to attack anybody. If they don't get attacked on, if people don't loot, riot, burn the flag, more or less, loot businesses, attack people, breaks apart and throw them at vehicles, then nothing will be done. I mean, in that sense, I really don't understand why it becomes an issue that the National Guard. How is the National Guard escalating anything? You can make your argument that the raids are uncalled for, that they're targeting certain individuals, that you may not like them at Home Depot, that you may not like. There's accusations that they've gone committed raids. ICE has committed raids at churches during worship, while they're working, while they're putting the roofs, while they're doing all of that. Right? You can make your argument in that sense, and I've made my argument here on that. We need to start looking at it, a little bit different when it comes to sober, moral, imprudent, law-abiding people that pay their taxes, have a job, and have a court date, and have a process ongoing, right? I've made my case on that. But just to say that the National Guard, just by being deployed and standing there, all of a sudden that freaks people out. And the danger of having the military out there, that makes absolute zero sense. So let's continue.
Newsom wants to send the National Guard home. Less law enforcement makes the streets safer? Didn't we learn our lesson already with defund the police? Remember, they blame Trump for the fires, too, and the homeless and the crime and the drugs. They say it's all Trump's fault. Newsom spent $20 million to Trump-proof California, and they can't even police their streets and put out a fire. Tom Homan says if Gavin keeps obstructing, he's going to slap him with federal charges. Gavin says, lock me up.
The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn. but I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Trump says don't tempt him with a good time.
Gavin Newsom he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it?
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
Anyways, and we're going to get to Maxine Waters here in just 1 second, by the way. That was Jesse Waters and explaining how Democrats are trying to frame Trump. Listen, Trump is doing what people voted him to do. And you know, whether you like it or not, that's what the American people voted for. I'm a Hispanic man, a Hispanic American, born actually in Peru, as I've said it a million times. Listen, people voted for it. I mean, I voted for Trump. I thought he was a better candidate of Kamala Harris. You know, you can't blame American people for voting for the best candidate. And he was voted to do this. You know, that's what he was voted to do. So it makes no sense to complain on what he's doing. You can, again, argue what I was arguing about sober, moral, and prudent immigrants that could be given an opportunity. And I think that would add a little bit of humility and a humane side to this thing that would be in favor of Trump and would be in favor of ICE and Homan, etc. Now, I got to say something about the also the LA police, though, because as much as I want to praise them, and I know that they have been overwhelmed with their mayor and their governor not really doing the proper work to back them, they have also made a lot of mistakes, by the way. They've been recorded and shooting at journalists. One journalist, Australian journalist, got shot in the leg for no reason. And so, you know, certain actions by police is not warranted, especially shooting at innocent people, including journalists that are out there doing their job, showing the truth and what's happening out there. So definitely need to do some soul searching and, you know, give their heads a reset. So stop shooting at innocent people. Again, just as we call immigrants to be sober, moral, and prudent people, you all need to do the same thing, and it will only help your cause. And again, policemen have been overwhelmed as well, so let's not, you know, act as if they haven't. But at the end of the day, you know, we got to try to do our best. So now we got to go react to Maxine Waters, who's she's 80. What is it? She's almost 90. Retire, lady. You're helping no one. You're helping no one. I'm sorry, but you must retire. You know, just like Mitch McConnell retired. He retired. I begged him for 20,000 years to retire. He finally retired. Maxine Waters, let it go. It is pointless. Now let's take a watch of Maxine Waters as she makes a jaw-dropping claim on anti-ICE rioters.
All right, when Democrats aren't blaming President Trump for the anti-ICE chaos in America's cities, party leaders are trying to deny anything bad is even happening. Take a listen to Maxine Waters here.
Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence.
And Hillary Clinton decided to add her 2 cents, writing, California Governor Newsom didn't request the National Guard be deployed to his state following peaceful demonstrations. Trump sent them anyway. It's the first time in 60 years a president has made that choice. Trump's goal isn't to keep Californians safe. His goal is to cause chaos because chaos is good for Trump. Hillary has since turned off the comments on that post, if that's an indication of how it was received.
Yeah, they weren't very receptive to that point, the people on the Twitters. Fox News contributor and senior writer for the Washington Examiner, Joe Concha, joins us now. Joe, are they out and out lying or is something else at play? Is there a certain amount of violence, a certain level of violence that is acceptable, sort of like you're grading on the curve when it comes to their word, peaceful?
The answer is both, Todd. Carly, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's yes, lying. It's the cheap fake videos of Joe Biden in 2024 that weren't cheap fakes at all over again, as we later found out after that debate and so on. So Democrats want us to believe that watching law enforcement being pelted by concrete, rocks, projectiles, fireworks, they want to say, all right, that's an acceptable level of violence, to your point, Todd. All of those businesses being ransacked and looted, ICE officers and their families being doxxed, that's apparently okay. That's the new normal. So it appears that everybody from Maxine Waters to Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, Hillary Clinton, almost every Democrat not named John Fetterman, they want looting and rioting and lighting scores of cars on fire to be that acceptable new normal. And we're even hearing this analogy, you'll love this, Todd, particularly, from Democratic lawmakers on CNN and MSNBC, that this really is no different than a team winning a championship and celebrating in the streets. I mean, one ABC reporter said, quote, "It's just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn." So the media obviously is enabling this here. The difference here, and I'll leave this here, is that social media under Elon Musk, X particularly, is the great equalizer. Corporate media, legacy media can claim one thing and say, this really isn't bad, it's peaceful, don't believe your lying eyes. But then X, which infinitely more people go to for their news now, they have the videos, they have the proof, they have the mockery of these media people, of these Democrats. And that's why this isn't going to work the way it did in 2020, because X particularly is the great equalizer.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line right there. That people know you can't really lie to people because they will get the information from all over the place. Now, these Democrats lying and saying that there was no violence. I mean, again, I try to be very much central on everything when it comes to politics, although sometimes nowadays I can't help it but lean towards the right on a lot of things. But just as I was telling the police officers and everybody on that side that they need to be better, Democrats. And by the way, Democrat citizens, you need to. These are the people you vote for, and the same old people as well. Maxine Waters, Hillary Clinton, all the same people lying and keep lying. It doesn't do them. The fact that they're blind and they don't see that you can't lie to the American people. This is not the 1920s where you had to believe everything you're told on a newspaper. Right? People can see for themselves. People can think for themselves. And it's so unfortunate that the left side just doesn't get that. They don't get it, that the American people are not blind. They can see what's happening. And they were burning flags. I mean, at some point, everybody should agree on certain things. It took days, almost a week really, for the mayor of Los Angeles, Bass, to actually, say that these actions are wrong, that if you're looting, you're going to be arrested. It took them days, almost a week for them to actually say that. Instead, they were blaming Trump and all of a sudden and blaming the military just because they stand there. All of a sudden, that means that people will go nuts. If I see a soldier, I just keep going straight. Hey, soldier, thank you for your service. I'll keep going about my business. I don't see a U.S. soldier, being a former soldier myself, I don't see a U.S. soldier and think, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I have to throw rocks at moving cars now because I see a National Guardsman. It makes absolute zero sense. So they don't understand. They don't get it. And so it is unfortunate, but it is what's happening right now in that is the propaganda now on the left side. It's unfortunate, but you can't really be on that side. If you're trying to be in the middle, neutral, objective, you can't agree with what the Democrats are doing. It makes absolute zero sense. And you can come out and say, if you're Hillary Clinton, if you're Maxine Waters, which they will never do, but if you are one of those, Chuck Schumer and all those guys, if you want to come, Nancy Pelosi, if you want to be believable, okay, say you disagree with Trump, but also point out what is actually happening, which is condemn the riots, the burning the flag, the looting the stores, and then disagree with Trump if you want to on how to settle that down and how to get rid of the riots. But don't say that it doesn't happen, that it's not happening. Don't believe that, says Maxine Waters with her 86-year-old behind. Come on. At some point, and I blame Maxine Waters' family members, Nancy Pelosi's family, Mitch McConnell's family members, because they let these old people just get out their house every day when they should tell them, Mom, Dad, don't ever leave the house. Retire. It's done. You're not made for this anymore. And I get agitated a little bit, but, because this country should not be ran by old people. It shouldn't, who are just literally filling up their pockets. That's exactly what they're doing. Now, listen up on this, because if you are rioting out there, Pam Bondi has said that we are coming for you. We are coming for you, very much so. Let's take a look and watch what Pam Bondi had to say on Fox Sports today.
The problem. Attorney General Pam Bondi is coming up in 10 minutes.
Can't wait for that. Fox News alert: California Governor Gavin Newsom is blaming President Trump for the riots in Los Angeles after a judge rejected
this brazen putting our baby first.
But the president says federal troops are helping save the city.
Well, it wasn't no 10 minutes. There we go. Pam Bondi right now.
Joining us now, the United States Attorney General Pam Bondi. Madam Attorney General, thanks so much for joining the program.
Thanks, Lawrence.
So tell me about this lawsuit, and what do you make of the governor blaming the president for the actions of illegals in this country not abiding by the court order, the warrants to come pick them up, and the protesters that are now activists that are throwing stuff at the cops?
Well, Lawrence, evidently, Gavin Newsom has not been out to the scene. He has not turned on the television set to see the incredible amount of violence that is happening in Los Angeles. President Trump is going to make America safe again. We're going to protect Americans, and that includes Californians. If Gavin Newsom isn't going to protect them, we are. He also failed to declare an economic disaster. Had he done that, Kelly Loeffler and the Small Business Administration could have come in and helped all those businesses that were being looted. We could have given them federal funding, but he's refusing to help even his own small businesses in California. And if you loot a business in California during this, we're charging you with robbery under the Hobbs Act. No longer are the days of non-prosecution for looting. It's a criminal act. You've seen on the news all these stores being burglarized, vandalized. We've also seen, Lawrence, all of our police officers, all of our federal, state, local law enforcement officers being abused out there, trying to keep California safe. Jointly, we've all made over 190 arrests, more coming. If you hit a police officer, you assault a police officer, state or federal, we are coming after you.
So,
Molotov cocktails, no longer.
There you go. That is what's happening. So Pam Bondi very much clear on what she wants and will do these people, when there's people are caught. And some of these people throwing rocks, and they need to be persecuted and actually put in jail for attempted murder, because that's what they're doing. They just want to hurt people, plain and simple. That's what they did want to do. So you need to put them in there, throw them in jail. I don't care if they're Hispanic. I don't care if, it doesn't matter. Put them in jail for being criminals. So it is very interesting how this whole situation is unfolding. Now, let us react to. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, by the way. It'll be great to see what you guys are thinking in the chat. We are live on Rumble. We are live on YouTube. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and help us grow for more content. Let's react to Mexican-American who has a brutal message for ICE supporters that's going on viral right now. Let's take a look, listen to this man as he gives his take on what's going on right now.
You guys are an embarrassment to the Mexican culture and to the United States culture. You guys are an embarrassment to everybody around you.
Here is a Mexican. He is a Mexican-American, as I understand it. This is a random video that was going viral over the week, or just yesterday. And here he is, he's a proud American, obviously, and here he is calling out the bull of these crazy, psychotic, jihadist, anarchist nutbags.
So let me get this straight, just so I could clarify it. You don't want to go back to Mexico. You're protesting to stay away from Mexico. But you're waving the Mexican flag, and you're waving it with pride. Exactly. You're waving it in the United States, the country you're trying to stay in, the country you don't want to leave. But yet you're waving the Mexican flag with pride. Okay. That seems normal to you? That seems logical? That's not stupid at all? None of that's stupid. All right. You guys are an embarrassment to the Mexican culture and to the United States culture. You guys are an embarrassment to everybody around you, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Do better.
Do better, plain and simple. It makes no sense. I said it yesterday on actually Monday on the show. It makes no sense to do that. You want to stay in this country. You want to come here and stay. You came here illegally. Now you want to stay, and that's how you're going up. And by the way, but let's clear this up. Very few illegal immigrants that are deportable did go to these riots. By the way, it was a lot of American immigrants or American citizens that are born of immigrants that did this because they knew, what the worst they can do is get arrested. Now, those people, as Pam Bondi said, that if you're throwing rocks, you're going to be persecuted for murder, and they should. But with this fellow Hispanic man right here, it makes no sense. He's right. He makes total sense. But what they're doing makes no sense. It's absolutely. It doesn't. Again, I don't know. It's idiotic, to say the least. And it doesn't help their cause, and it only hurts the good and sober, moral, and prudent immigrants that want to stay here for the right reasons. It only hurts them. It's unfortunate that they're going to be the ones to pay for this, to be honest. They are. So what this man said here, I don't know his name, but it would be great to get in contact and have a good chat with him. It sucks. But he makes total sense. So no disagreement with me there. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe. We're going to be finishing up with a couple more videos that we need to react to. We're going to move away from the riots now. Let's react to Kilmar Abrego Garcia as he is back in the USA to face shocking allegations. And so Megyn Kelly and Miranda Devine had a video explaining what's going on with this particular case. Let's take a look at this and go from there.
Garcia, Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland's favorite criminal, he's back. They went and had margaritas, and now he can have margaritas stateside with him because he's back, but he is in federal custody, and he is being charged with trafficking. So the DOJ, Trump says this wasn't his thing. He says it was Pam Bondi, and she announced on Friday he's back in the U.S. He's facing federal human trafficking charges in the Middle District of Tennessee, which is Nashville, charged with 1 count of conspiracy to transport aliens and 1 count of unlawful transportation of undocumented aliens. He faces 10 years in prison. They say not only did he transport aliens, he transported children throughout the U.S. in an unsafe manner. He allegedly abused undocumented alien females. He trafficked firearms and narcotics. His lawyer says deny, and this is an abuse of power. You're just trying to cover your mistake in deporting him to El Salvador, the one country he could not be deported to. And then on top of this, the government moved to keep him behind bars before trial. And in their motion for pre-trial detention, the feds allege that he, Abrego Garcia, Chris Van Hollen's buddy, murdered a gang rival's mother in El Salvador. Wow. You may remember, Miranda, that he only got this like withholding of removal order. They were deporting him. He had been found deportable, saying, get out. But they said, all right, we won't deport you to El Salvador because you convinced the immigration judge that if you go back there, you could get killed. And the way he convinced the immigration judge of that is he said, I'm going to get killed by this gang, this like, I can't remember the name of it. It had something, had the name, the 18th Street gang. They're going to kill me. And the judge bought it. So that was the reason why we could deport him anywhere, but not to El Salvador. And then when we deported him, he went to El Salvador, which, by the way, was fine because this 18th Street gang has apparently been dissipated. And when the condition of the danger is removed, you can be removed. In any event, we've been fighting over this guy who's alleged to be a wife beater and a trafficker now. And what the feds are alleging, not as a claim against him, not as a count against him, but as a reason to detain him pending trial, is that they say, according to a co-conspirator, the defendant stated on how he got into MS-13. He participated in the murder of a rival gang member's mother in El Salvador, specifically the mother of an 18th Street gang member. Later, as part of his immigration proceedings, the defendant claimed he could not return to El Salvador because he was in fear of retribution from the 18th Street gang. And he tried to spin this as being about his mother making some sort of food that the gang didn't want her to make because they had like a rival business to it. No, what the feds are now saying is he killed one of their moms. That's why he was in fear of his life. This is insane. This is why you should really figure out these people's backgrounds before you go sip margaritas with them in El Salvador.
100%.
Absolutely. And before judges go making these bleeding heart decisions. And, you know, also Pam Bondi mentioned that they haven't charged him with this, but they're investigating allegations that this guy solicited child porn. So not a nice person. And I think that this was a Pyrrhic victory for the Democrats because, yes, they did manage to force the Trump administration to undeport him from El Salvador, but he's now been slapped with all these charges, and we can see who he is, who is the poster boy for the Democrats that they are willing to die in a ditch for. And it's this guy, the worst of the worst, you know, alleged murderer, alleged wife beater, alleged solicitor of child porn, gun trafficker, drug trafficker, human trafficker, abuser of women and children. I mean, you know, does it get worse? So I just, again, think the Democrats have tied themselves to this man. And the more we see of him, the less sympathetic he looks.
It's truly, it's insane. Here's Senator Chris Van Hollen, the buddy of Abrego Garcia, on where he thinks all of this leaves us. This is CNN on Friday.
You know, I will never apologize for defending the Constitution. In fact, it's the Trump administration and all his cronies who should apologize to the country for putting us through this unnecessary situation, and to Abrego Garcia for putting him through this situation and his family. All I have said from the beginning is that the Trump administration should respect the rule of law and the Constitution of the United States. So really, it's President Trump who should apologize to the country for violating his oath to the Constitution. I'm glad in this moment they're finally doing what the Supreme Court said, but they continue, Anderson, to violate the Constitution in many, many other cases.
Oh, my God. It's a shocking, unbelievable what this guy just said. I mean, imagine taking pictures, having drinks with somebody that has done what this man has done in America, let alone what he's done in his home country. Listen, this guy needs to be persecuted, thrown in jail in the United States for his crimes, and then deported, effective immediately when he's done his sentence, if there's any time left. But we do not need people like this in our country. We don't, man. I'm an immigrant myself. My mom is an immigrant. We worked hard. We go by, we live by the law, and we respect the law and respect this wonderful country. We do not need immigrants that are criminals. We do not need that. We already got we already got killers. We already got murderers, rapists. We drug dealers. We already got that. They're born in America. We have to deal with them accordingly. We do not need to bring in immigrants that are going to do that and violate people's rights here in the United States of America. It's unheard of, and we certainly don't need it. And I just don't understand why the Democratic Party marries themselves to these people. It makes no sense. No sense at all. Let's finish up the show, ladies and gents, with Elon Musk as he admits regret over Trump's attacks in a kind of what they call a big, beautiful backtrack. So let's finish up with this video. Let's take a look.
Overnight, Elon Musk backtracking. It's called the Big Beautiful Backtrack. He tweeted this out. He said, "I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. They went too far." He didn't say which one specifically that he regretted. We have some ideas. You want to read through them, Brian?
It says, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election." Not a good thing to say. Dems would control the House, and Republicans would be down 51-49 in the Senate. really not accurate, but you did put a lot of time in Pennsylvania, Elon. We know that.
He said this as well. In light of the president's statements about the cancellation of my government contract, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately.
And that's been deleted. He also said, time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT.
Now, these are our opinion of what he might want to walk back. We don't know what he wants to walk back.
That one was deleted, too. So, yeah, he also said that Donald Trump should be impeached.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows the president, he loves spirited debate. Even if you disagree with him, you can yell, you can scream, you can make your points be heard. But when he took it public and he started saying some of the talking points from the left where it was impeachment, Epstein files and all that, he lost a little credibility there, a lot of credibility. Now, I think they will make up, but they're never going to be as close as they were before because the president simply can't trust the guy now.
Donald Trump said that he thinks that he imagines that Elon Musk would want to talk to him. Listen.
On Elon Musk, do you plan to speak to him on the phone anytime soon?
I haven't really thought about it, actually. I would imagine he wants to speak to me. I would think that. If I were him, I'd want to speak to me, and maybe he's already called. You'd have to ask him whether or not he's already called. But I'd have no problem with it.
I'm going to tell you he did.
Right. What does that mean? Ask if he called?
I think he said, hey, he called me, but I'm not going to put it out there. But you ask him.
I don't know for sure, but I would say I'd have everything that he posted. You know what bothers him most? The attacks on the big, beautiful bill, because it temporarily it halted the momentum they had in the Senate. So now he's got, this is my landmark piece of legislation. You better not hurt it. Remember, he blew up the debt ceiling deal that was done so they could move forward, and it delayed everything for 2 weeks. Every day matters. They got 3 weeks to get it done. And I think that if Elon could just stay out of the way and let the politics happen and the bill be defined, the president would be more than willing to talk after July 4th.
I definitely think they will make up. You have a guy who is used to leading a company, a massive company, wealthiest man in the world. He's not used to being told what to do. He's used to doing the firing. But in this case, he's dealing with the most powerful man in the world. And so I think that there was frustration there.
His skis.
Yeah, and he's mercurial. Yeah. He's a different kind of person. So,
but there's no way to turn. He can't go Democrat. Everything that they stand for, he has come out against.
He won't go Democrat. He just didn't like the bill because it wasn't in his best interest for his company.
I'm
Steve Doocy.
So, anyways, that is that. Listen, when it comes to Elon Musk and all of that, two big egos. Two people don't want to be wrong. I think Elon Musk took it too far. He did. I mean, he was having a tantrum. He took it way too far. And will they make up? I think they will. One good thing about Donald Trump is I kind of have the same thing about me. Is that I forget rather quickly. I get very upset, and then I forget rather quickly. I just want to move on. And I think that Elon will have a conversation with Trump, and they will make up. Trump will move on. Trump, look at it. He's fought with Megyn Kelly. He's fought with Piers Morgan. He's fought with many people, and he's fought with many of the media on the left, and he's given them multiple interviews, one-on-one. One of the guys just got fired from ABC, by the way. And so, other than that, I think they'll make up. But it's just it might not be the same. The relationship might not be the same. But let me, there's a comment here by Royal Seed. Welcome, brother. He is on Rumble. Appreciate you and hope that you're following as well as subscribe on YouTube as well so you can don't never miss out. Eyewitness Gringo is outnumbered on labor jobs and literally made not welcome by the illegals to be on the job and taking a job from their illegal alien buddies. It was an impossible work environment. Not sure what to make of that comment, buddy, but regardless, I appreciate your support, and everybody else out there, please don't forget we are live multiple times throughout the week and post multiple videos. So please join us on YouTube and on Rumble at the Veteran Uncensored YouTube channel. So anyways, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you all on the next one. Ciao, ciao, and have a good one.